The 2024 Mama Awards were crazy. It was actually such a good award show, but can the same be said about all the K-pop idol outfits on the red carpet? Let's take a look. Welcome back to my series where I react and review all the K-pop idol outfits from the Mama Awards red carpet. In my previous video, I did all the looks from the Mama LA Awards, which was really fun, so definitely catch up on that if you haven't already. And then in this video, I'm going to review all the boy groups that attended the Mama Japan red carpet, which includes Enhypen, TXT, Treasure, ZEROBASEONE, BOYNEXTDOOR, and then 17. Before I get into all the looks, I just want to say that make sure you're subscribed because I know a lot of you guys are liking and enjoying the videos, but you're not subscribing. What's going on with that? That don't make sense. Enhypen kind of took a risk by wearing all black suits to the Mama red carpet. And the thing for me is that I feel like with black suits or all black suits, sometimes it can very much give like banquet hall server vibes, especially if it's like a button-up shirt that's black and then like a tie that's also black as well. Like, so to me, that can kind of read as like very like banquet hall. Like that's like the vibe I get from that. But Enhypen actually looks great on the red carpet. I feel like their looks, one, they fit them really perfectly. Like all the black suits fit them perfectly. Which I would hope so because like their suits they wore were actually all custom suits by a brand called JBake. So each of them had their own different suits. And another thing I appreciate about the suits they wore as well is that they didn't just all wear the same type of suit or wear like a uniform type of suit. Each of the suits they wore had a different kind of element to them that like was more unique to them, which is nice. So for example, if you look at, let's see, if you look at Nicki's suit, for example, he wore like a kind of like a flat kimono lapel-ish thing with a satin or like kind of, yeah, satin kind of lapel. Heesung also had like a pointed satin lapel as well. And then if you look at Jake's, it had kind of like a ruffled lapel in the edges that gave it a nice texture, etc., etc. Point being that they each had their own kind of different element to the suits that they wore, which were each unique to the member, which was really nice. It didn't just feel like it was like a group of servers at like a restaurant. You know what I mean? And like I was saying earlier, another thing about their outfits as well is that they didn't wear like a button-up shirt to the top, or most of them, they didn't wear any undershirts actually, which is nice. You got to see a little bit of the chest, which is a little bit more suave, which I appreciated from that as well. I feel like because they didn't wear any shirts, it kind of like took away that waiter element. And they all wore different kind of jewelries as well. Jake wore like the Tiffany necklace. Sungwoon wore a necklace as well. They all kind of wore the different kind of jewelries, which is nice. And another thing I really liked about the outfits as well is that, or like the overall look, is that their makeup is like a little bit different to me, in my opinion. They're all wearing these kind of like heavier eyeliner type of looks, which is giving very second gen to me. I feel like it was like very cute, especially on Jungwon and on Sunwoo. Those two having more of like the cute cattish faces. It was giving very much second gen to me, especially on Sunwoo. It was like very cute. And then I like Jungwon's kind of like blondish hair, like ash blonde hair as well. I feel like the only thing with their glam is that they were a little bit heavy-handed with the eyebrow pencil on some of them, but other than that, I feel like the eyeliner look was cute on them. Like, I really liked it. It's kind of like a little throwback moment, which is fun. They all did their hair very nicely, especially Heesung with kind of slick back hair and like the little strands. But yeah, like I liked each of their suits a lot, actually. I think it really fits them. Overall, like I feel like Enhypen actually did like a good job. Like, I love this. Treasure to me, especially on the red carpet, they're a funny one to me because I feel like because there's so many members in Treasure and they all kind of have very like individual styles and they all wear very different things, especially on this red carpet, sometimes it does feel like it's just like a bunch of random people that enter the red carpet at the same time, and it was just like they have nothing to do with each other, even though they are a group. Like I know they're a group, but yeah, even for this Mama Awards, they all kind of wore different elements or like very different looking suits and things like that it does feel really individual to them, and I get where the stylists are trying to go with this in terms of like having a cohesive element that went up kind of in between them. So if you look at like the navy and like the leathers, I get where they were going with that, but overall, I feel like each of the looks were so styled differently from each other and like had so many different points that it just felt like, yeah, like there was just like a bunch of different people that just stepped onto the carpet at the same time. But it's interesting because I feel like their heights are actually all the same. But yeah, like for example, like we have Hyunsuk that looks like a completely different person, like his rebellious kind of look. Kind of wore leather and open collar shirt and then like all this accessories and jewelry. And then yeah, he looks very different. And then we have Do Young, he looks like a very proper put together suit, very properly tailored, very nicely tailored. So does Jungwoo. And then if we look at Jaehyuk's like suit was like very strong shouldered. It was a little bit exaggerated. I think it was like a bit too exaggerated for me personally. Do you see how his collar is like spread way too wide over the suit? I just feel like that was a bit exaggerated. And then we had Haruto in like the long leather trench, which is actually cute. I think that was like a nice look with the tie. Essentially what I'm trying to say is that each of them wore kind of like very individualistic style to them, which I appreciate because we always want to see individualism. We want to see something unique about each of them, right? But I just feel like in this case, it was just like very like a mishmash of different members or a mishmash of different people coming together. I will say that I really like Jungwon's look. I feel like his long kind of like jacket and then tie and then his like slick back hair. It was giving like very dashing, very suave. I really liked it. I like Yoshi's like red hair. It was kind of fun. It was kind of bold. He's like the only one with colored hair, which is funny, which is cute, yeah. But overall, I feel like their looks were, yeah, like I feel like individually, like, some of them had really great looks, some of them didn't have great looks, but then it didn't really feel like they were like a big group, you know? Tomorrow by Together, honestly, whenever they're about to go on a red carpet or whenever they go on a red carpet, I get a little bit nervous because usually they wear Dior for the red carpets or any kind of red carpet events or anything like that. They're wearing Dior. And I just feel like recently with the Dior looks, they just have not been doing it for me. It feels like a little bit boring, honestly. But for this recent Mama Award show, I think they looked a little bit better, a little bit more fun, a little bit more true to their concept as a group, which is fun to see. I'm excited to see that. Like, I'll explain the looks. Like, do you see how they're all wearing, okay, first of all, they were wearing pieces from the new Dior Cause collaboration, which is fun to see because like they're one of the first artists to wear it, so I'm loving like a VIP access kind of moment. But yeah, like this was kind of a fun way to reveal the collection and have a kind of little red carpet moment. So yeah, they were wearing kind of varsity jackets from the Dior Cause collection. It has like the little CD, and then they wore like a little tie underneath that made it a little bit more appropriate for the red carpet. So starting with Hyun and Kai, I feel like Hyun and Kai's look was probably the most the most lazy, I would say, if that's like the right way to put it, in the sense that they just gave him a matching set from the thing and it wasn't really styled in any type of way whatsoever. It was just like, here, wear this matching suit, or like, wear this matching set. He wore like this kind of velvet matching set. It looks like velvet. I don't know if it's velvet or denim in the oblique pattern with the little Dior Cause logo, which is fine. I feel like his look was a little bit, probably a little bit too different from the rest of the members. The rest of the members all kind of wore similar looks in different ways, but he just kind of wore a matching set. And then we have Bumgyu. He wore kind of like this striped, almost like summery corduroy looking jacket, but I think it's just like a striped jacket. Button-up shirt and a little kind of necklace and this kind of more voluminous pant. I didn't mind these pants on them actually. I feel like it was fun. A lot of the idols this year wore kind of like a skinnier suit pant, but they wore these kind of voluminous, like wider pants, which I thought looked nice on them, honestly. And then we have Yeonjun. He wore kind of like a varsity jacket with the tie as well. And then we have Taehyun, who wore this kind of more like, Michael Kanache pattern Dior jacket with the skinny tie as well. I feel like all of them wore basically a very like, they all wore the voluminous pants, they all wore the Oxford collar button-down shirt, they all wore a jacket, and they all wore like kind of like a neck accessory. And then we have Hyun and Kai, who wore, I don't know, like a random matching set. You know what I mean? But I was missing Subin a little bit on this red carpet. I wish he came back. He would have really rounded out the 5 members, I feel like. Plus, Suba is like my favorite too, but I really wanted to see that. But overall, I think I liked it, honestly. I feel like it was better than what I've become used to seeing Dior and Tomorrow by Together do. I think this is a bit more fun. It's a bit more true to them. And it's not just like another gray suit, you know what I mean? But so yeah, like I'll give this one a go. I'm here for this one. Boy Next Door has been really, really catching my attention lately, both in the way they're dressed and they're styled, and the way the group has like a certain concept, and the way the music is. I feel like the music is great. Their styling is pretty good for the most part, but I feel like for the red carpet for the Mama Awards, their styling was actually very good. They were probably one of the best dressed, in my opinions. They had a good variety of looks, and they were all like very appropriate for the red carpet. So let's go through the looks a little bit, you guys. The looks are interesting to me because a lot of the other groups, or like a lot of groups, will usually just typically go for like a suit moment, like navy, black, white, blah, 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 this and that. But Boy Next Door, they wore a nice variety of looks, first of all, different variety of silhouettes and pieces, and they all wore kind of like this kind of gray, white, and black color scheme, which is a little bit more refreshing, a little bit more different. You're probably like, oh, Kevin, you're so annoying. You're saying, oh, navy, black, and white is boring, but now you're saying like gray, black, and white is nice. Yes, it is, you guys. So they all wore these kind of different pieces, different silhouettes, different brands, different shapes, but it all felt very cohesive because they all kind of stayed true to the color palette. So let's just like quickly look through their looks. I'll talk a little bit about my favorites. So Woonhak wore this kind of like Fendi sweater with this kind of like open neckline. And then Ryu, I like Ryu's look a lot actually. He wore this kind of Stefan Cook sweater with the cutouts, and then he wore a big shirt underneath with like a slightly more exaggerated cuffs, which is like a really fun look, I think. It's a very kind of like romantic kind of look in my opinion, and then the collar sits perfectly off from the sweater, which looks good as well, and they styled his hair very cutely. You guys know I love when they style like a piece of hair like sticking out. It's like very like puppyish. But yeah, he looks good in that. The pants fit him well as well. Jaehyun's looked really good. His is probably the more classic look. I feel like his is more very like what I would imagine like people would wear on the red carpet. So he kind of wore like an open jacket with like a little skinny narrow tie, and then he wore these kind of like flared pants, which look really good on him as well. And then we have Leehan, who wore the gray celine knit sweater with the kind of like sailor collared shirt underneath, which is like a fun detail as well. Were their looks like the most exciting, like visually? No. Were they interesting? I think so, in my opinion. Were they cohesive and appropriate for the carpet? I think so. Overall, I like their looks a lot for that reason. I don't think they had to do like too much, but they also didn't do too little at the same time. But yeah, I really love Ryu's look. So cute. ZEROBASEONE surprised me a little bit because it doesn't feel like they're that big of a group until you see them on like the red carpet like this. Like, wow, like there's so many of them. What I really appreciate about ZEROBASEONE's look is that all their looks like were cohesive, and it was a very striking look, like a super striking look. I think out of all the K-pop groups, I think they were the ones, or out of all the K-pop guy groups or boy groups, they were the one that was trying to present a more like bold or like unique kind of look. So if you look at their looks, they all kind of wore white jackets. They all wore kind of these uniform white jackets and black pants. Whereas most of the other kind of groups, they wore like, I don't know, like black, white, or like black and black, etc., etc. But they wore like the white jackets, which is not super uncommon in K-pop, but I feel like it's more so like uncommon on the red carpet in general. But yeah, like it was like a very striking look, especially when you see them all lined up like that, which I can appreciate. You know, you guys know I love when like a group or like stylists try to like present like a look. You know what I mean? Like I will always love that. If you look at each of the individual looks, I feel like they were maybe not so, if you look at close to the details, maybe it wasn't so strong in that sense. The overall look as a group would present, it was like a strong, like very like striking look. But each of the members individually, I don't think the execution was like the greatest at some of them. Like some of them did look great, some of them looked okay, and like some of them looked whatever. But just in terms of the details in general, I feel like the details look kind of a little bit cheap in my opinion. If you look at like the ribbon they were using, it literally looks like Dollarama or like dollar store ribbon, you guys. Like it looks like such cheap ribbon, you know what I mean? Like even like tied around like the neckline and like tied around the waist area, like it looks very, very cheap, like the details. And then some of the jewelry was almost like too dainty. It also gave cheap, in my opinion at least. Even if you look at Hanmin's like necklace, like it literally looks like a piece of string, which I get that was like kind of like what they were going for, but at the same time, I just feel like it didn't land the way I would have wanted to. It didn't look very luxe. And then I feel like Gunwook's jacket, like it almost kind of gave like baseball jacket, like baseball jersey that was just kind of cropped. It didn't really look elevated. And then we have Ricky who wore this kind of like double-breasted crop jacket moment. But yeah, like it was just from afar, if you look at them as a group, it looked like very striking and very, very bold. But if you look at the individual like looks itself, it wasn't maybe like the strongest in my opinion. But you know, they're getting there. Like I appreciate what they were trying to do. I feel like I was kind of here for this. 17 has very much been on a roll. Like they won 2 Daesangs at the Mama Awards, but their outfits for the red carpet, you guys, that was a totally different story. So let's look at the outfits, you guys. So like I was saying, or like I've said before, the thing when it comes to large groups is that sometimes it can feel like very like all over the place, and I feel like this is another one of those cases. Like yes, they all like wore suits, which I guess you could say is like a cohesive thing, but I feel like the range of suits they wore were like very, very different to the point that each of them wore such different things to each other that it feels like, again, like a bunch of people like stepped onto the red carpet at the same time and they're not really a group. Some of them looked great, some of them looked not so great, some of them wore a certain style of suit, some of the suits fit nicely, some of them didn't fit so nicely. The situation for 17 kind of gave to me that each of them kind of, it was given like prom, you know what I mean? Like each of them just wore their own suits without any kind of regard for what anyone else is wearing. Like everyone, 17 stylists were like, okay, everyone go home and pull out the suit you wore for prom or pull out whatever suit you have and that's your red carpet look. And so they all stepped onto the red carpet. Some of them looked great, some of them didn't look so great. And it was just like, yeah, let me pick the ones I feel like looked really, really great. I love Mingyu's look. Mingyu's look, I think looked really great on him. I feel like I always like love what Mingyu's doing. So I'm assuming he wore Dior. Yeah, he's wearing Dior because I can see the tie. But yeah, his suit looks nice on him. He looks very tall, and he is tall, which makes the suit look good. I like Hoshi's suit. He wore like a double-breasted, like more relaxed suit, which is interesting for him. I feel like I'm used to seeing Hoshi in these kind of like skinnier or like more slim looks. So it was fun to see him in more of like a relaxed suit. Joshua probably had the most classic suit out of all of them, like the black suit and like the button-up shirt and black tie. His is like very, very classic. A lot of them surprisingly wore all black suits, which you guys know is not my personal favorite. And then we have Vernon with like the grays. Vernon is so funny, but yeah, they won the 2 Daesangs, so there's that. Those are all the K-pop boy groups that attended the 2024 Mama Japan red carpet. Let me know in the comments who you thought was the best dressed, who was the worst dressed, which group had the best overall outfits, which group had the worst outfits. Did I miss anybody? Anything you want to say, let me know in the comments because I want to hear it.